Moving to Northeast Florida, what every homeowner should know about hurricane season. If you're thinking about moving to Northeast Florida, sooner or later, you're probably going to ask the same question almost every one of my relocation clients ask. And that is, Carrie, should I be worried about hurricanes? And it's a fair question. The short answer is this. You don't need to be scared, but you do need to be prepared. Today, I want to share what I wish every new Northeast Florida homeowner knew before their first hurricane season even gets here. Hi, I'm Carrie Kilpatrick with Let's Be Realty Girl, helping families be right at home here in Northeast Florida. Here you're going to find practical, straightforward advice about buying, selling, and living in Northeast Florida, from choosing the right neighborhood to understanding the home buying process and everything in between. My goal is simple: to help you feel informed, confident, and excited about your next move. So let's get started. Most years, hurricane season comes and goes with very little impact here in Northeast Florida. But when you've never experienced one before, the news coverage can make everything feel very overwhelming. So today, let's separate the facts from the fear. Number one, the news can make it feel scarier than it is. A few years ago, I had neighbors who had just moved here from Chicago. It was their very first hurricane season. A storm was developing, and they were trying to decide whether they should load up their car, pack up their pet, and drive northwest out of Florida to who knows where. They weren't panicking. They simply didn't know what information to trust. And that happens. So if you've never lived through a hurricane season before, that is completely understandable. One news station says one thing, social media says something totally different, and friends and family back home start calling because they've seen dramatic headlines on national TV. Hi, Mom. She does it every single time. So that's exactly why having reliable local information does matter. Understanding evacuation zones changes everything. One of the biggest misconceptions I see with newcomers is believing that everyone has to evacuate. And that's simply just not how it works. Evacuation orders are based on where you live, not your zip code. If you're near the beaches, along the intercoastal, or in certain low-lying areas, your guidance may be different than someone living further inland. Another thing that often causes confusion is bridge closures. This one always trips people up. So I've talked with newcomers who hear that a bridge is closing and immediately think, oh, that means everyone needs to pack up and evacuate. But in reality, bridges close because sustained winds make them unsafe to cross. It's a safety precaution, not an automatic evacuation order. Once you understand evacuation zones, bridge closures, and how local emergency officials communicate, hurricane seasons become much less intimidating. I've included links in my hurricane preparedness guide so you can easily look up your evacuation zone before hurricane season even begins. Always important to know that. So next, learn the local terms before you need them. When you're new to Florida, you'll hear phrases that may not mean much at first, like tropical storm watch, hurricane warning, storm surge, wind speeds. And those are terms that aren't meant to scare you. They're simply how emergency officials communicate with the public. The more familiar you become with those terms, the more confident you'll feel making decisions for your family. So the key is prepare early, not because you're panicking. One thing you'll notice about longtime Floridians is that they don't wait until the shelves are empty. When hurricane season begins, they quietly start replacing things like batteries. They pick up extra bottled water. They fill their prescriptions, top off the gas tank or gas container, charge backup batteries. They aren't panicking. They're simply becoming prepared. That's a habit worth adopting because preparation gives you options instead of stress. Next, know your insurance before you need it. Another conversation I encourage every homeowner is to have it with your insurance agent. Most people assume hurricane damage, flooding, and wind are all covered the same way. They're not. Every policy is different. I'm not an insurance agent, so I won't give you insurance advice, but I do encourage every homeowner to understand exactly what their policy covers long before a storm is even in the forecast. Knowing now is much less stressful than trying to figure out later after limbs have come down in your yard or something. Don't forget your pets. If you've watched my channel for very long, you already know that I am a huge dog lover. If you have pets, make them a part of your hurricane plan. Have things like their food, their medication, vaccine records, leashes, and carriers all at arm's length. And know ahead of time which hotels or shelters accept pets if evacuation ever becomes necessary. After all, they are family too. Buying a home during hurricane season. If you're buying a home during hurricane season, there's one piece of advice I give every buyer. Don't wait until the last minute to bind your homeowner's insurance policy. And here's why. Insurance companies don't just watch the weather in Northeast Florida. They watch the entire Atlantic. If a tropical system is developing, many insurance carriers temporarily stop binding new policies, even several days before a storm arrives, and even if our area isn't expected to receive a direct hit. I've seen home buyers complete inspections, negotiate repairs, and be completely ready to close, only to discover they couldn't bind their insurance because the carrier had paused issuing new policies. That can delay your closing through no fault of your own. Once you've completed your inspections, negotiated any repairs, and you're confident that you are moving forward, talk with your insurance agent about binding your policy as soon as possible. It's a simple step that can save you a tremendous amount of stress. Then, after the storm is past, don't be surprised if your insurance company asks for current photos of the home that you are about to purchase. They may want pictures of all four sides of the house, the roof if possible, and sometimes even interior rooms to verify there wasn't any storm damage inside. That's a normal part of the process, and knowing that ahead of time helps eliminate another surprise. So after the storm, if a storm does impact our area, don't rush outside the moment the winds stop. Wait until local officials say it's safe. If you have damage, take photographs before cleaning anything up. Document everything clearly. Contact your insurance company as soon as possible, and remember that flooded roads, downed trees, and power lines can still be dangerous long after the rain has stopped. When people ask me if they should be worried about hurricanes before moving to Northeast Florida, my answer is always the same. Respect them, prepare for them, and don't let them keep you from enjoying everything this beautiful area has to offer. I've lived through hurricane seasons here, And what I've learned is this: you can't control the weather. What you can control is how prepared you are. When you have a plan, you spend less time worrying and more time enjoying where you live. And everybody wants that. So living in Northeast Florida is about so much more than just hurricane season, for sure. We have beautiful beaches, incredible communities, wonderful weather for most of the year, and a quality of life that keeps people moving here every single day. Hurricane season is simply one part of living in Florida. Once you have a plan, it becomes just another season, not something to fear. To help make that preparation easier, I've created a free Northeast Florida Hurricane Preparedness Guide. And I've got, first, inside, you're going to find evacuation zones and resources, emergency contact information for our area, helpful local websites, hurricane supply checklists, planning worksheets, and practical resources that Northeast Florida homeowners actually will use. You will find the link to download it in the description below. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate that. And if today's video was helpful, be sure to subscribe, because every week I share practical advice to help you be right at home here in Northeast Florida. If you're planning a move, I've linked several free resources below, including my Home Buyer's Guide, Buyer Checklist, Home Value Snapshot, and other tools to help make your move a little easier. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a home anywhere in Northeast Florida, I would love the opportunity to help. I'm Carrie Ann Kilpatrick with Let's Be Realty Girl. And until next time, be kind, be confident, and I'll see you in the next video.